Okay, it's live now.
Okay.
We are live.
All right. So the first question was, what threats to children and families did Elder Holland mention? Have any thoughts on that one?
Okay, well, I don't know if I did this right or anything, but tell me if you guys think the same thing or you guys read the same thing. One of the things I thought about was he mentioned checking your religion at the door. Is that the right talk that I was reading?
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, so I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about how you can't just choose when you want to live the church standards and when you want to have discipleship. And then I was thinking about whenever there's a situation or a problem, Elder Holland said, no true disciple of Christ can check his religion at the door. And then this is a quote that I really love that he said. He said, it is easy to be righteous when things are calm and life is good and everything is going smoothly. The test is when the real trial or temptation, when there is pressure or fatigue, anger and fear, or the possibility of real transgression. And that was a quote that I really loved that he said. And then another point I thought about was he was talking about judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. He was talking about being judgmental and stuff. I thought that that's one of the threats that I think that we face today.
Yeah, I love, it was a time in the tag that, how he's so, I don't know, it was so powerful the way he addressed to us, and the admonition that he gave, do not check your, it was whoa, so powerful for me. I felt the spirit, literally, whoa, when you get that testimony, or confirmation from the spirit, I was whoa. So it got me really, it just makes me ponder about what things I may be doing that it makes me check my religion at the door. For example, when I go to parties with my family, I sometimes they want me to go on Sundays. I'm and they give me a hard time when I don't go, oh, you don't like your family. And I think that's one of the threats sometimes for families, that if we go give into the pressure of oh, it's the family, they want me to be there, that's when we're checking our religion at the door. It could be also a threat for the family, because then we are even though we think that we're oh, we're with the family, we're spending, we're bonding, we're making these memories, we're not really helping our eternal family, because we're not putting an example for them, that we're not he said, another word that I like from them, he said our covenant obligations, because we when we did the baptism, when we got baptized, we make a covenant, and sometimes it's probably worse, and we don't really grasp that it's a promise. We make a pact with God, a covenant with God, and we told him, we're gonna be very faithful. We're gonna, the word, the scripture that he used, we're gonna be witnesses of Christ in all places, in all things, at all times. How he reminded us of that, and so we just need to be careful that, I think that can threaten our family, as when we're not following those covenants, and because we're trying to be with other family that maybe they're not members and they don't understand, but we do, or we should understand that. So that's why we need to be careful of that, checking our religion at the door, so that we don't do that, thinking that we're helping our family when we're not.
Yeah, to go along with, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go.
Oh, I was just gonna say, to go along with that real quick with families, my one side is all completely inactive, and for some reason it's super easy for me to check my religion at the door with them, not getting involved. They like to drink and different things like that, and obviously I don't do that, but for some reason family is the hardest thing for me to stand up and, I don't know why, you don't want to offend them maybe. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Even though it's family, we need to still keep our religion and stand up, because that's most important.
I think so too. I like how his other thing was to show compassion, but be loyal to the commandments, which I feel like goes hand in hand with that. As you guys were talking, I was just thinking of an experience where we were talking about finances with a member in our board, and he was saying, um, like, church doesn't have any place in business. That if you try to just always like be churchy about it, you're never going to get ahead. You can't make it in business unless you set the church is the church and business is business. And I remember just being shocked as a young, because we were young, and this was an older, very successful member of the church, and I just thought, oh my gosh, like, is he right? Is the church, like, do we separate our lives and compartmentalize? And it made me step back and think, oh my gosh, I don't ever want to do that. I don't ever want to check my religion where it's like, well, in finances, take out those principles. But anyways, so it just made me think that how sometimes even members of our church are misled by that doctrine of, well, it's just a sports game or it's just finances.
Right. I think so my community I've grown up in is, I would say, like 90% LDS. And to go along with like the sporting thing, sports are a huge thing, but it's crazy. Like some of the dads or the people in the crowd just start swearing at the refs or go crazy, and it's like, you're a bishop. Like, I mean, it's just crazy, like different things like that, like you mentioned. So I don't know. I wish more people read this talk. And I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have heard this talk, but like, reminded to keep your religion. Don't check it at the door. Like, even though we're not at church doesn't mean we shouldn't be following the standards and stuff. So
yeah. And then I really liked also how he talked about using the gospel values to benefit our communities and our countries, because I just feel like that bleeds into everything. Like if these are the principles that we're living and teaching, it just has ripple effects towards our family and then their friends and their it has a far-reaching effect, the little things we do.
So we're gonna go to the second question. Somebody else has any other facts with this question?
The next question. Okay, has Babylon influenced the development of the threat to children and families that you have chosen to address? So did you guys all pick a topic to write on?
I just wrote, this question, I just kind of like wrote a few things because I don't know, but I was thinking, my answer is like really short, but things, wait, let me read it again. How does Babylon influence? I was thinking things like, from the quote that I mentioned earlier, temptation, anger, fear, things like that help threaten children and family today.
That's really good. I think those are the subtle ones that we all struggle with that, we don't always realize are such big threats to our family.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Julia? Did you pick one?
Yeah, so I was thinking about how we sometimes, like think about the media, how the media is also like being like, not the media, like, well, the media plus, like in the schools and all that is like when they're trying to separate or, like now, like go after religion with kids, and like, yeah, I think about the adversary, trying to work on those things, everything that, like, not everything, but, like a lot of things, we don't think that is him trying to push for those things, but like how, like, they try not to like let kids pray or like talk about religion, and they even get punished if they find them talking about religion with their classmates probably, or sharing their beliefs. And that's like scary because it's like little by little how the adversary is like putting those stuff out there, and then making them last, and then now, like I said, punish them like by like, oh, you're suspended, or you're gonna have this, like, I don't know, but the principle, because we were talking about religion, like that's scary. That's how like he's trying to like just think about the scriptures, how they the I forgot the name, how they were some of the people in the book Roman, they were, you know, like the same, you know, punished, like, oh, we don't want you to talk about, you know, the gospel, we don't want you to talk about Jesus Christ, so if we hear you, you know, we're gonna kill you, or we're gonna... So we see that extreme, but it's happening little by little, you know, like a lot of people, like, it seems like the media is portraying society as like that they don't believe in God, and you know that God is overrated, or you know religions are just for business, or you know like there shouldn't be a religion. So little by little is, you know, because it has so much power, that the media, that can influence a lot of people. So I feel also that's also a threat, and it's, you know, like part of the Babylon that, you know, it was in the past too, that we have seen that pattern happen before. So we just need to be careful with that, because we can fall into that again.
That's good. How about you, Shay?
Mine kind of went with media as well. Mine was just more like how the people of the world kind of are having a big effect on families. Like, oh, where is it at? I remember reading somewhere that it was like we can be, I'm gonna get this wrong, that we're a part of the world, but we live in the world, but we don't have to be a part of the world. It was something like that. Anyways, so I think that people, and that goes along with media, have a big influence on the threat of families. I didn't put a ton in this, but that was kind of what my thing was. Like, everyone has such a huge influence on one another, and media obviously is a way that they're influencing that. So yeah, mine is similar to Julia's.
Okay. Well, I think I kind of misread the question, but I was thinking it was asking like the topic that we're writing our paper on for the next part. And so I just talked about technology addiction. I feel like that is a huge threat to families and children nowadays. Even like these tiny babies, before they can even go to nursery, are handed iPads and iPhones to keep them busy. And I just feel it's rewiring our brains, and this technology addiction is becoming a huge, because it fills up all of our empty time, rather than communicating with each other and hanging out with each other and allowing our kids to be imaginative or creative or seek for answers. We're just constantly entertained and kind of, I don't know, numbed or lulled, you know, into, I don't know. So that's what I've picked to like address or to write out.
Yeah.
Should we go to the next one?
Okay. So number 3, how does Elder Holland's description of Babylon and Israel coincide with defending the doctrine of the family in the days?
Oh, this is where I read. It said he mentioned that we can tolerate being in Babylon, but we don't have to be a part of it. So that kind of goes with the doctrine of the family in the world today. There are many different views on family, and sometimes we can't do anything about it, but that doesn't mean we have to be a part of it. So we can still stand up for what we believe in and be Israel. But
yeah, it made me think about, you know, his example that he was giving, the first example about this football player, you know, how that's when he talked about, like, you know, like they check their religion at the door, because it's a game, you know, it's part of the world. Like when I think like it's Babylon, you know, so we're allowed to do whatever we want and be somebody else and not be a church people. But that's, you know, that's his concern. Like, no, you know, you are LDS, you know, and you should always be LDS. That's how, you know, like you are part of the Babylon. You are in Babylon, but not part of it. You know, by always, you know, like being your like that person that you should be. You know, like striving to be that person, like Jesus Christ. You know, like always have your principles. You know, respecting, like just whatever you do at church, just, you know, you should be doing it everywhere that you go.
I think that touches back with standing by your religion. It's like a circle, standing by your religion all the time. For me, in the talk, he was talking about like a little bit of the history of Israel, and he was talking about when things got too sinful, the children of the covenant would be sent fleeing into the wilderness to reestablish Zion and start all over again. And I know now, although we're not fleeing into the wilderness, I think that we have the responsibilities to spread and share our knowledge of the gospel to help our world filled with iniquity kind of start over again. And I think that, well, I know that the gospel of Jesus Christ, it allows us to start over again. So those are my thoughts on it.
I was thinking some of the same things, Morgan. I really liked how we talked about that history and how, you know, they've always fled when things get too bad or too wicked. But the quote that stood out to me, he says, in these last days, in this our dispensation, we would become mature enough to stop running. We would become mature enough to plant our feet and our families and our foundations in every nation, kindred, tongue, and people permanently. Zion would be everywhere, wherever the church is. And with that change, one of the mighty changes of the last days, we no longer think of Zion as where we are going to live. We think of it as how we are going to live. And I like that because I just think so often when things get hard, we do want to run. Like the world is scary and it's just full of so much wickedness. But I love that it's more about how we live than where we live now. So.
Yeah, I like that a lot too.
All right, so question 4. What characteristics and attributes did Elder Holland expound on that will make you more effective family advocates?
So I was thinking about it, like the third example that you gave, you know, how the police, oh, that made me cry, you know, the police found these kids, you know.
Bird?
Oh, sorry, maybe. Can you hear me now?
That's okay.
Sorry. Thank you.
Yes,
I was
thank you.
thinking about the third example about Elder Holland and the police officer that he went to the house with the like kids and, you know, the mom with the guys. And how, you know, like he like did something, you know, he didn't just do his job or reporting it and, you know, forgetting about her, but he really, you know, like applied the gospel, you know, how he prayed, how he, you know, look for guidance and, you know, try to like just apply Jesus Christ compassion and love for, you know, like our neighbor, you know, for those kids, you know, how like he was really living the gospel, not just doing his work, like not checking the religion at the door, but like combining it to like protect the family, protect those children. So I think that's something that we need to do, like always, you know, always think about like the family, like how we can help them, not just like advocating last or that, but also when we encounter those kinds of situations, we can make an impact. I'm pretty sure that, you know, that family, you know, even the mom, because of that, you know, they can change, or the kids, because they see like the compassion from that police officer, you know, they're gonna have a different perspective about life, and I hope that, you know, there is good in the world.
Yeah, I loved that story too.
Something. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Shay.
Okay, so I liked how we talked about how we need to have compassion and be loving, but also be understanding. And I think that's really important and a really important characteristic to be an effective family advocate, because I understand, or when someone understands me as I'm talking, whether we don't have the same opinion. How do I word this? I just lost my train of thought. But like when someone, I'm like, what am I saying? But like when someone understands me, I feel more compassion towards them, and I'm going to be more understanding towards them. And so I'll listen to what they have to say. And so in like community, if you're more compassionate and understanding, then it's going to be easier to be a family advocate, because people are going to be like, oh, okay, she still understands my thoughts, but she still wants what's best for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I thought.
I like that. I think it opens our hearts and our minds, that compassion.
Okay, so I also mentioned compassion, and then I think he talked about being like judgment free, and he also talked about, well, judgment free but judging righteous judgments. He talked about, because sometimes we're like required to make judgments through like certain things. And then another thing that I jotted down was living our life to reflect our love for Christ that was mentioned. And I think by doing this, we can find happiness in every day that we live, even if it happens to be a bad day. I think by, I don't know, always thinking about Christ's love and, I don't know, yeah, acting that way, I think that we can find happiness.
I agree. Right along those lines, I just liked how Elder Helen said, though we may disagree, we should not be disagreeable. Our stands and our communications on controversial topics should not be contentious. We should be wise in explaining and pursuing our positions and in exercising our influence. And I loved that because, at least for me, when we get on hot topics, I feel my emotions rise. Like, I get angry at some of the things people say. I don't know. And so to be able to keep that spirit of love and wanting to teach rather than, I don't know, wanting to win or wanting to show them that they're so wrong. So
It's like just like the video that we saw, like, and the other activity. So like
yeah.
how, like it's normal, natural man wants to, like defend and explode, and they're, attacking us. So, and I was so like happy to like see those videos, like, because there is so much material that I'm not aware of. Like that video, I never saw that video before. And the church has like worked so hard in making all this material available for us to know how to react and learn and how to share with people and defend our beliefs. So I feel like, yeah, I need to study more. I need to like learn how to like be an advocate for what I believe on, like, not just a religion, but every like controversial topic, so that we can do it with the spirit, and we know how to like touch those people and be able for them to listen to us. So I like that videos that we were shown.
Yeah.
I think that too. Okay, so the next question I feel like is really similar. So if it's okay with you guys, I'm going to skip it and go to 6. It says, consider the depiction of the left and the right as given by Prager University in Does It Feel Good or Does It Do Good? Left versus right, number 2. And decide whether or not you feel this is in line with Marcia Barlow's ideas or in conflict. Does the video present a persuasive argument for a conservative viewpoint?
Oh, I love that video.
Do you guys know what
I love that video. Like, that was like, oh my gosh, that's right. Like a lot of things that now the left does is because it feels good. Like he was the one of the ones that I like is that the young people. Like they don't know if it's gonna do good in the future because they're so young. They don't have the experience of what people did in the past, or they don't care to look at the past. But just because they make them feel good, they think it does good or it's good. So I was like, now that's my question, like that's something that I want to like ponder every time, like I see something like a topic or something, like for me to support it, like, does it just make me feel good and that's why I want to support it, or does it really, that's good to the people, it's gonna do something good to the people. So that's like the feminist, I always think like that, like me as a woman, like once I understand my role as a woman, my divine role, like to be a mother and a wife, like once I grasp that concept, I don't feel like, oh, why I can just have a career and be successful, like why do I have to stay at home with my kids, because I find it like, oh my gosh, I have that privilege to have, help Heavenly Father be a procreator and have kids, and that satisfies me, and that's enough for me, and more than enough. That makes me, have that joy that really I understand now that like no successful, in the world can, like I don't remember literally the quote, but like can
compensate
the successful or the fail in your home. And that's for me it's true, like just because like some women like feel good, like does it really that's good to you as a woman, to your family, just because it makes you feel good to be like praised, like, oh, you're successful, you have so much, you like gain so much money more than a guy, like you're things like that, the worldly success, and that makes them feel good. But does it really do good to her in the eternal perspective, like how is that going to help you to have eternal family, and the purpose that we're here to like come back to Heavenly Father's presence.
Yeah.
It was talking about how we should never get caught up in love, or in other words, does it feel good, that we ignore the long-term consequences of certain ideas. And I think that like you were mentioning, Julia, I think that is like something that is so prominent in today's society. Anyway, I thought the video was, well, for me it was like pretty persuasive. But anyway, yeah, that's like the world today. They want like immediate satisfaction. Does it feel good? Versus does it do good? Yeah, those were kind of my thoughts.
Yeah, I agree with both of what you guys have said. You've kind of taken the word. I was thinking the same thing, like with feminism or standing up for same-sex marriage, like all of these things. I'm like, okay, yeah, it probably does feel good to stand up and like think you're making a difference in the world. Like, oh yeah, like my aunt, she's a big feminist, and so like she'll like do a podcast on something, and like while I was watching this video, I'm like, yeah, it probably does feel good that she's standing up for something, but is it really doing good? Like, so this, I don't know, I really did like this video. It was persuasive to me too. I think it's important to remember what we're doing, if it just feels good to us or if it really is doing good.
I liked it too. I had never really had anybody break
So.
down the differences between the left morality and the right morality, which was really helpful for me to see, because I don't know, it just puts everything into perspective. And I love how Marcia Barlow talked about how important it is to understand, where they're coming from, where their morality lies, so that you can frame your questions or frame your arguments in ways that they can hear you and understand you. And it might seem a little sneaky, but I thought that was really clever to help them be able to listen and to understand. I like how she said it, it's not like my morality versus your morality, but to ask, what does your morality produce? Like, so anyways, I loved that. I want to share that with our kids. We'll probably do that for family home meeting, because I feel like it kind of walks you through a logical step by step as it breaks it down and takes out all that emotional charge to where you can see, valid, but in the long run, what are they producing, to break it down in a logical way. So I really appreciated that. I live in a really, really liberal state where I just can't even begin to articulate why I believe the way that I do and why what they are doing is so damaging, because for them it comes from a place of trying to be good and feel good and be nice, that anyways, so that was helpful. Sorry, I can ramble on. The last question was, do you find holes in the argument? And so I had to really think about that one.
Yeah, I couldn't really answer this question because I was like, I don't know. But I think, I think you can find holes in any argument, really. But I just don't know.
Yeah, I can't think of anything either.
For me, it was like, like I thought about like, well, that she has a lot of like data or statistics or research studies to back up her arguments. But then I think about like, does the people know about this? Like, because if we make a survey, like, does you really know like people, do you really know what the left, stands for and what the right stands for? Because I feel that a lot of people, like, they just choose one topic, and because like, oh, conservatives doesn't like abortion, so now I'm conservative. But they don't really have, like the whole spectrum. Like, is there like something written that it says like, this is what conservatives does? So I was like thinking about, make me ponder, like, can people really go into like, I don't know where to go, and like, okay, so if you want to learn what really a conservative is, go here, or what a, like a liberal is, go here. So is that like I wish that she could also do that, like that presents like those I don't know, like sources, and say like, okay, people, so you can make up your mind with like facts, and like kind of like a religion, like, okay, you wanna be a Methodist, here is what they believe, so what they believe. You wanna be an LDS, like this is what they believe, so that you just don't, because you're like, oh, I don't drink, so I'm a Mormon, like it's not like that, like there is so much that you should learn to see if you really wanna be part of it, if you are willing to live the whole commandments. And like, I don't know, for me it was just that was like, I was thinking like, how does people know that, like, because it's not just three things like she presented, like it's not those three things that maybe is more than that. So if you just agree on that, but like there is more to it, how can you find that? How can you say you are truly conservative, or really, I think there is a lot of things that you cannot just agree on everything. Like probably if there are 4 points, you agree on 4, but there is one. So because you don't believe in that one, does that make you not be a conservative or a liberal? So I just that was where I was pondering, like, because I was thinking myself that, like, am I, because I don't really like see myself at either of them, because I don't have that, like cheat sheet to know, like, okay, what am I, liberal, conservative, like, because of the church, I feel that I'm a more a conservative person, but I do like when I study what really the liberal is, so I can decide if I like some points of them, or something like
Right.
that was in my mind.
So you'd be a moderate, Julia. So you have the spectrum. So you're definitely not like a right wing conservative or left. But I think you're always going to find that with human nature, that you're somewhere on the spectrum, and very few people are all the way one way or all the way another. So yeah, that does make it tricky.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that, so that's good.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, you're good. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was thinking, I wonder what a liberal would say watching that. Like if they would agree and go, oh yeah, those are our values. Oh yeah, or if they would be offended by that and be like, you don't even understand. So I would have liked to see a different perspective.
I for sure got a kick out of that video. I got a kick out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, she was pretty confident.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think we're covered everything. So I don't know. You
All right.
Just the
summarize.
I can do the summary.
Okay.
Okay, so to summarize everything, I tried to like put little things in. But okay, so as we all know, our world is surrounded with threats and attacks on our children and families. We can protect ourselves from this by following the Lord's covenants. Always stand by your religion through every aspect of your life, whether it's sports, finances, school, etc. Never waver from who you are and who you want to be. Some things that play a part of attacking the family are temptation, media, peers, and technology. We can advocate for our families by carrying the attributes of compassion and understanding. Christ loved everyone, no matter what they look like, where they came from, what they wear. His love for us is the same whether our opinions differ from his. He might not agree with our opinions or actions, but he still loves us regardless. And then to close, does it do good or does it feel good? And what are your values producing? Okay, so I was thinking that we should challenge ourselves this week to ask ourselves these questions as we go throughout the day, and to see if it makes a difference at all. And that's my summary for today.
Perfect. Thank you, Morgan.
Thank you.
All right. And you're okay to post that, Julia?
Yes. I'm going to stop the broadcasting right now so we can finish the video.